Alright, so yesterday I was scrolling through my Twitter feed, just minding my own business, when I got absolutely blasted in the face by two of the single most dog shit takes that I have heard in pretty much my entire life. Now, both of these takes surround what should happen in the 2024 election with the Democratic Party, and both continue to push this narrative that somehow they've shifted too far to the left, even though they haven't passed any leftist policies whatsoever, but continuing that narrative and suggesting absolutely atrocious election strategies that I honestly don't even want to think about as being something potentially part of our reality. But, this is the timeline that we live in, and so honestly, shit like this happening, I would not even put it past this current completely fucked up timeline to make us deal with something like this. But here's the first one, okay? So this one is slightly less bad than the other one we're about to get into, but this one is still pretty shitty. So from Thomas L. Friedman, Biden, Cheney, 2024, okay? Joe Biden and Liz Cheney, 2024. Okay, so already, we shouldn't even have to get into what his actual thoughts are on this. This is a completely absurd strategy that not only wouldn't work to defeat Donald Trump, but also it's incoherent if you're somebody who, pretends to care about anything that Joe Biden initially ran on. So again, this is all just trying to push this narrative that he's shifted too far to the left and therefore we need some sort of a, noble Republican to step in and balance Joe Biden out. Joe Biden has been governing effectively like a moderate Republican, okay? So to suggest that we need to move him even further to the right is completely ridiculous. If you go and look at the policies that the overwhelming majority of the country actually want, Biden hasn't even pushed for those, let alone followed through on his own half-assed neoliberal agenda that he ended up running on in 2020. So Liz Cheney, okay, I just covered a story on this channel a couple days ago about how her and her dad, the war criminal Dick Cheney, showed up to the floors of Congress to basically virtue signal with Democrats, condemn what happened on January 6th, and pretend as if they give a shit about democracy while simultaneously blocking all of the legislation that the American people actually want them to pass. So, we know that she doesn't have any real principles. She's a neocon. She is a war hawk. And so pairing her up with somebody like Joe Biden, it's almost kind of redundant because they're much more in line. Joe Biden, his ideology is much more in line with somebody like Liz Cheney than somebody like Bernie Sanders, okay? So shifting further to the right is completely nonsensical, but here's what he had to say. And I'm not going to expose you guys to too much of this because this article, I'll throw it down in the description if you are, a masochist and you like feeling pain and you want to read this yourself, but this is the single worst article I have ever read in my entire life. So here's what Thomas L. Friedman had to say. As I've noted before, one reason I pay very close attention to the Israeli-Palestinian area is that a lot of trends get perfected there first and then go global. Airline hijacking, suicide bombing, building a wall, the challenges of pluralism, and lots more. It's off Broadway to Broadway, so what's playing there these last days that might be a harbinger for politics in the US? And he says the answer is that it's the most diverse national unity government in Israel's history, one that stretches from Jewish settlers on the right all the way to an Israeli Arab Islamist party and super liberals on the left. And most important, it's holding together, getting stuff done, and muting the hyperpolarization that was making Israel ungovernable. Okay, so this is absolutely psychotic, okay, to suggest that the current Israeli government, which very much like the current US government, our entire society is skewed on the, the spectrum of left versus right on that axis. We are completely skewed to the right so that people's frame of reference is saying that somebody like, Joe Biden is a leftist or somebody like even an Obama is a leftist when that's not true at all. They're both imperialists. They are both, they are both pro-capitalism. So given the fact that we don't have actual leftist representation here in the United States or in Israel, okay, suggesting that there is some sort of a two sides of these massively polarized sections of society that are coming together in a magical way. No, that is not the reality. The reality of Israelis' politics right now is they are extremely far right. The government that is in power there is extremely far right, arguably even more far right than Trump's government, okay? Just to give you a little bit of perspective on what they've been doing recently, I just covered this story on the channel just the other day. Multiple UN representatives from the state of Israel, the people who they choose to go and represent them on the global stage, called Emma Watson an anti-Semite for posting in solidarity with Palestinians, okay? She literally posted this saying solidarity is a verb, and a UN representative from the state of Israel said 10 points from Gryffindor for being an anti-Semite. So just to give you a perspective in terms of this, sacred, balance that exists within the Israeli government, as Thomas Friedman wants you to believe, okay, it's completely far right. It is a deranged government, and their current prime minister, Naftali Bennett, famously said back in 2013, I've killed lots of Arabs in my life, and there's no problem with that, okay? This is their current leader, and he's saying that this is some sort of a, bipartisan extreme left and extreme right coalition? No, the fuck it's not. The entire politics of the country are skewed massively to the right. They are an apartheid state. So sorry, but believe it or not, any administration that is coming into power that is continuing the expansion of settlements into the West Bank, that is continuing to aggressively attack Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip, an administration that is continuing the ongoing apartheid, not exactly a good, left-right coalition there. It seems like your government is just extremely far right, but that he continues saying, is that what America needs in 2024? A ticket of Joe Biden and Liz Cheney, or Joe Biden and Lisa Murkowski, or Kamala Harris and Mitt Romney, or Stacey Abrams and Liz Cheney, Amy Klobuchar and Liz Cheney? I can't even fucking continue reading this, okay? Every single name on here, no matter what fucking combination you want to put them in, would get absolutely curb stomped by Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump, okay? That is an absolute fact, okay? How do I know that? Because we just tried this strategy, okay? In 2016, Hillary Clinton just tried doing this, moderate, I'm in the centrist, I'm gonna pair myself up with Tim Kaine's strategy, and how the fuck did that work out against a fake right-wing populist? You cannot run on a hollowed out, pathetic, watered down, neoliberal campaign and then expect to be able to beat somebody who is a successful right-wing populist, okay? The only way you defeat somebody like that is by shifting dramatically to the left-wing direction on economics and running an aggressively left-wing, economically populist campaign. That's how you would actually do it. But this is just the first take, okay? Joe Biden, Liz Cheney, absolutely dog shit, atrocious take. But this one is even worse, okay? Hillary Clinton has been putting herself out there recently much more, and it seems like it's because she's literally thinking about going for another run at the presidency, even trying to take on Donald Trump for a second time, okay? I feel like I'm losing my goddamn mind. Here from the Wall Street Journal opinion section, Hillary Clinton's 2024 election comeback. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have become unpopular. It may be time for a change candidate. A change candidate? Hillary Clinton is a change candidate. She is literally the worst embodiment of everything that people hate about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris right now. So let's just go ahead and, subject ourselves to the pain of reading some of this. They say, a perfect storm in the Democratic Party is making a once unfathomable scenario plausible, a political comeback for Hillary Clinton in 2024. Several circumstances, President Joe Biden's low approval rating, doubts over his capacity to run for re-election at 82 years old, and Vice President Kamala Harris's unpopularity and the absence of another strong Democrat to lead the ticket in 2024 have created a leadership vacuum in which the party, or in the party in which Mrs. Hillary Clinton viably could fill in. And they continue saying she is already in an advantageous position to become the 2024 nominee. She is an experienced national figure who is younger than Biden. Okay, she's literally in her fucking 70s, okay? She's not exactly, a young person running around here to inspire, the younger generations around the country, but she can offer a different approach from the disorganized and unpopular one the party is currently taking. Again, she literally represents the exact same neoliberal agenda that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are conducting right now. How the fuck could you suggest that Hillary Clinton is different from them? She literally ran almost the same campaign, but even further to the right, even more focused on neoliberalism. At least Joe Biden was pretending like he was going to do something, right? Promised the $15 minimum wage, etc. He was kind of acting the mildest bit populist. Hillary Clinton, the election strategy that she ran on, is the exact reason why Donald Trump was able to win in the first place. So pretending as if like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are too far to the left and that we need to shift back to the right, that's the exact opposite analysis of what actual reality is screaming at people in the face. But they continue here saying that if Democrats lose control of Congress in 2022, Mrs. Clinton can use the party's loss as a basis to run for president again, enabling her to claim the title of the change candidate. So again, what the fuck do you mean by change candidate? Her entire agenda is preserving the status quo. Her entire agenda is inherently a neoliberal conservative agenda, okay? That's who Hillary Clinton is. How the fuck are you going to pretend that she is a change candidate? She's the exact embodiment of the opposite of a change candidate. She is a status quo manager if there ever was one. But they continue saying that based on her latest public statements, it's clear that Mrs. Clinton not only recognizes her position as a potential frontrunner, but also is setting up a process to help her decide whether or not to run for president again. So this is at least a little bit encouraging that we might have the ability to bully her and convince her to not run again. But they continue saying she recently warned of the electoral consequences in the 2022 midterms if the Democratic Party continues to align itself with its progressive wing and urged Democrats Democrats to reject far left positions that isolate key segments of the electorate. Okay, so number one, we're going to get to even worse parts of this, but number one, what do you mean they need to reject the progressive wing of the party? That's all they've been doing this entire time. Joe Biden, his main flagship social spending agenda, the Build Back Better Act, is completely dead right now. It's dead due to Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, and a handful of other corporate ghouls within the Democratic Party. Those are the so-called centrists, and they are killing Joe Biden, a centrist president's agenda. So where in this entire piece are the progressives to blame? The progressives have literally been fighting for Joe Biden's agenda to a fault, to the position where they basically gave up all of their leverage, trusting the word of Joe Biden. They gave up all of their leverage, assuming that they would be able to get crumbs out of the conservative members of the party, and they didn't get jack shit. Okay, so the Democratic Party is doing the exact opposite of listening to the progressive wing of the party. Now, again, I've argued that they should have used the leverage that they had at their disposal more to force Democrats to listen to them, but to pretend as if the current situation, no Build Back Better in any way, shape, or form passed, let alone actually talking about left-wing economic proposals like, a Medicare for all or a $15 minimum wage or other things that actual leftists like Bernie Sanders was running on. We haven't even gotten the half-assed neoliberal agenda of Joe Biden passed, let alone anything that the left was suggesting. So again, they're just blaming the left. They will blame the left no matter what the actual context or what the reality of the situation is. It's completely fucking delusional. But they continue here, and this is honestly the worst part of all of this is Mrs. Clinton can spend the time between now and the midterms doing what the Clinton administration did after the Democrats' blowout defeat in the 1994 midterms, crafting a moderate agenda on both domestic and foreign policy. This agenda could show that Mrs. Clinton is the only credible alternative to Mr. Biden and Ms. Harris and the entire Democratic Party establishment. Did you see what they just said? This person writing this article is literally trying to say that Hillary Rodham Clinton, is not a member of the Democratic establishment, that she is going to separate herself and make herself appear distinct from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the Democratic establishment. What the fuck is going on? Hillary Clinton is the embodiment of the Democratic establishment. She is the embodiment of the swamp creatures that exist at the highest levels within the Democratic Party. This is completely delusional. It's like literally nothing within this is coherent or in line with what reality is saying right now in any way, shape, or form. And of course, they had to finish it off here, giving excuses for why Hillary Clinton didn't beat Donald Trump before, saying Hillary Clinton remains ambitious, outspoken, and convinced that if not for the Federal Bureau of Investigation Director James Comey's intervention in Russian investigation and intervention of Russian interference, that she could have won in 2016, and she may be right. If Democrats want a fighting chance to win in 2024, Clinton is likely their best option. Okay, again, she was the least popular candidate other than Donald Trump. Her and Donald Trump were the single least popular candidates in fucking history, okay? In history. How are you going to turn around and say that she is the change candidate, she is the future candidate? People already rejected her as vehemently as they possibly could, okay? This is one of the absolutely worst takes that I've seen in a very long time, and honestly, it is, really crushing my soul that this is the position that we are in right now. Because listen, we don't actually have many people that are on the horizon that are actual, even, mildly left-leaning people that could run in 2024. I mean, I floated some names out there. Bernie Sanders is 1,000,000 years old. It's really seeming kind of hopeless. John Fetterman is one that I've floated out there that could be decent, but it is really looking abysmal. And articles like this are showing that once again, it appears like the elites in the media and also the elites within the political establishment are going to try to shove through in 2024 an even worse ticket somehow than the Joe Biden and the Kamala Harris ticket, or even somehow worse than the original 2016 Hillary Clinton, Tim Kaine ticket. Okay, so they are going, get ready for it. They are going to try to shove this down our throats. They are going to force us to deal with another hollow neoliberal set of ghouls, or even somebody like Liz Cheney, who is an actual literal Republican, before they allow a leftist to run and win successfully in this party.